Welcome to A.U.M. I'm your host, Kalli Fedusenko. I am the founder of Savvy Advisor Marketing. Yes, I normally say I'm the founder of Kalli Collective, which is also true, but we are in the middle of a rebranding phase. So we are now going by Savvy Advisor Marketing. We are still the same old digital marketing agency developed to build relationships between financial advisors and their target audience using data to create websites, online content, and advertising. We build relationships first and we grow your numbers second. And if that sounds like an approach that resonates with you, then scan the QR code to learn more about us. Our episode today is brought to you by the Financial Planning Association, otherwise known as the FPA. FPA is a great resource center providing education, support, and networking opportunities for financial advisors like you. To learn more about them, scan one of these QR codes. So selling doesn't have to feel pushy or uncomfortable. We're welcoming back Nicole Cramer for an inspiring session on Nail the Sale. Nicole will share her proven strategies for connecting with clients, handling objections with ease, and closing deals in a way that feels natural and authentic. So if you're ready to level up your sales game and make selling enjoyable, then this session is what you've been waiting for. Make sure to ask your questions in the comments because we do love the interaction and we like to respond to them in real time. So let's turn your sales into success. Welcome with me, Nicole Cramer. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Kalli, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good for a Monday.
Yeah, surviving so far.
Yeah, we had such a great response to your episode last year. I was like, we have to bring you back because it was just so great and informative. And it's something that I've tried to use in my own sales, which I've seen great feedback from. So let's just talk about, selling and starting with confidence. Why do so many people find selling and shifting their mindset so difficult? Like what's there? What can we dig into? Because I feel like sales is a lot of a mental game more than an actual here's what you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the things that need to be done are simple. I think it's the mindset pieces that get in the way. And I think it's really a loaded question. Like what is it really? And I think for each person, it might be a little bit different. But I think if I were to say in general, we've all probably had an experience where we felt someone was being pushy with us.
Oh, yes.
And so it developed a fear of being that person for someone else, right? We don't want to push people. We don't want to bug people. And that becomes in our mind, what selling feels like or what we think selling is.
Right. Also, hi, Philip B. I see that you put a hi, so I want to make sure I respond. Okay, sales. Yes. So mental, I don't want to be pushy. Absolutely. It's like my pet peeve. What are some of the things that would help me overcome that? Like, yeah, I don't want to be salesy and pushy, but I also don't want to lose sales.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I tell people is then stop being salesy. It's just as simple as that, right? It is a mindset. So much of it is a mindset piece because it's how if we think salespeople are pushy and salesy and liars and slimy, it's no wonder we don't want to be salespeople.
Right.
It's no wonder we're preventing ourselves from being that person.
Yeah.
But if we actually look at it am I actually helping people when I'm selling them something? And if so, then let me get behind that thought because if you're not helping people when you're selling them something, then stop. For sure, stop that, right? But if you are, I think first and foremost, acknowledging that, yes, this is not for everybody. But for the people that it's for, they really need it. They really can benefit from it. And I believe in it so much that I'm willing to do what it takes to seek the people who are seeking me. And to find that connection between the people who can benefit from what I do and me so that ultimately they're getting the help that they need, they want, there's whether it's a product or service, there's a reason that people need what you're offering.
Right.
Because they don't want to do it on their own. They can't do it on their own. They don't know how to do it on their own. Like there's a whole range of reasons why they might need it. But when we start to feel salesy, a lot of times it's because we're probably we probably are being salesy.
Yeah.
And quite often it's because we're making it about us, like when you're being salesy, are you making it about what you want? Or are you genuinely and curiously seeking to help the other person in some way? Because sometimes helping them might be making a recommendation completely different than you or your offer. And to me, if we're in integrity with what we're really trying to do, which is serve others and like what they need, their needs should always come before ours. Because if it's our need, we're just trying to make a sale. If it's really about helping them with something that they need, and it turns out to be the right fit for what we do, aren't we just helping them?
Yeah. Ooh, see, I like that already. I feel in a better mindset.
And I think that's an everyday, like we have to constantly put ourselves, like, even before doing reach outs or connecting with people, it's like, can you give yourself some affirmations to say, like, everyone that I'm about to connect with is looking forward to hearing from me. And in some way, their life is going to be better. And my life is going to be better because of this connection, because of this conversation. And we have to really believe that what we're doing is helping people. And that changes a lot about the actions that we're willing to take.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some things like, okay, we're making it about them. So what are some things that are important for us to uncover about the client so that we can better serve them?
It's what the true need is.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people talk about pain points. You have to understand what their challenges are, what their pain points are. Yes. But you also have to get even deeper than that. You have to find the emotional connection, the emotional reason. And and some people might say, yeah, but I don't do things that are emotional. Everybody sells something that connects in some way with someone's emotions, because everyone that wants to buy something or needs something believes that their life will be better on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what that is, right? Like if you're going to the store and buying Band-Aids, it's because you have a wound or something that you're going to use that Band-Aid for, and you're going to feel a little bit better when you put it on your, And so there's always a need behind the need. That's what we used to say when I was in my corporate job. So it's like there's surface level needs that people will tell you. And then there's underneath that, like, what's the real need? And I think that's the most important thing we can do, because when we get to that real need, we've helped someone feel uncomfortable. When someone feels uncomfortable, that's when they're willing to move.
Interesting.
Before that, they'll stay where they are. They'll normalize it. We've all done it. We've all normalized our pain. We've all made it okay to not have exactly what we want or have something the ideal way that we want it, because we've normalized just being where we are. And it's human nature that humans will work far harder to avoid pain than they will to seek pleasure. So if we're just trying to get somebody to move because something looks nice or pleasurable, it's going to be a lot harder than if we help them see that where they are is so uncomfortable, they don't want to be there anymore.
How do I do that without it being a turn off? Like, if I'm making you uncomfortable, why are you going to stay on the call with me?
Well, it's not that they're uncomfortable with you per se.
Yeah.
You're just asking the questions that are helping them recognize, like, where they are is not a place where they want to be anymore. So it's that level of discomfort. It's not like you're just pressuring somebody and pushing them, and that's what's uncomfortable. It's more like, so how long has this been going on? When was the last time that you remember feeling differently than you feel right now? And for how long has that been going on? And for how much longer do you feel like you could, do you feel like there's something you want to do about this? Or do you feel like staying where you are is okay?
Yeah.
And so you're giving them choices the whole way. It's like, is this something you want to do something about? Or are you okay with being where you are? And so what we're really looking to do is invite somebody to keep coming closer, because it feels like it's their decision. And when we know how to ask questions that help create movement to the degree it feels like their decision, our work in the sales process becomes a lot simpler.
I love something that you said last time we talked. And I used it when I spoke, and then I was like, oh, I can't take the credit. Because everybody loved it. And it was, you were like, get them to make micro commitments throughout the call before, like the final, do you want it?
Yep. Because by that point, that they want it because they've been saying yes all along. And I think what a lot of people fail to recognize too, it's just them showing up on the call is a micro commitment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody giving you their time and attention, that's a big deal. And for some people, they just tend to dismiss that or take it for granted. And they're so focused on trying to make a sale, that they forget that like the fact that that person even showed up and they're in a conversation with you is a big deal. And so
Right.
yes, throughout, you want to get them in the habit of saying yes, nodding their head, because that yes at the end is really just the culmination of all of those micro commitments throughout.
Right. Okay. I'm loving all this. But for people who don't know you, Nicole, why should they listen to you?
They should. I mean, technically they shouldn't, unless, you know, where they're seeking the kind of information that I'm sharing, and what I share from and where I share from. And the reason why I think, what I have to say helps a lot of people is I was not a salesperson. And I think a lot of people don't think of themselves as people.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden they've had an idea, or they've started a business, and they're in a position of now being a salesperson. And they're like, crap, what do? I feel salesy.
Right.
And I know exactly how that feels, because I was a high school teacher for 15 years. And after teaching high school math for 15 years, I decided to try my hand at sales, and I became the #1 salesperson in the country.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that by all of a sudden becoming this salesy salesperson. I was the same version of myself as I was when I was a teacher. I was the same version of myself that I've always been my whole life. And so what I really, I guess, made it a point to do is go into sales and not be that kind of salesperson, but instead figure out how to be successful doing it in a way that felt good.
Yeah.
And by truly serving others. And so that's where I teach from now. So for the people that are looking for, I'm not your answer, I'm your advantage. If you're looking for ways to communicate better with more influence and help people make decisions more effectively. But if you're looking for like the slimy, you know, things to say that like automatically work on everybody, I don't have those answers, because those things don't exist. But for the people who really have like high touch relationship based sales processes, I love helping them see how to move people through that by speaking the language of influence more effectively.
Yeah, because you're also certified as a what is it? What to say?
Exactly what to say. Yep. Yes. Exactly what to say. Certified guide, which is like a whole host of tools that are just incredible for earning trust and really developing a rapport with someone that puts them in a position to want to buy from you. It's the language of influence. And to me, it's like the work that I do gives people confidence in those micro conversations that lead to someone making a decision.
Right. I love that you're still a teacher. Like, yeah, you were a high school teacher, but now you're a sales teacher. It's just,
that's it. It's
innately who you are. And I love that.
I often joke and say that I teach the subjects that nobody likes. I taught math. Nobody really liked math. I teach sales. Nobody really likes sales.
Yes.
I take the hard ones and I teach them.
Yeah, but those are the subjects we all want help with. So
exactly. They're the ones that help, that we all need, right? Like if you know math, you know numbers, you know sales, a lot can change in your life.
Yeah. What about objections? So, you know, what is some go-to advice for responding to objections? I mean, okay, actually, I'll give you an example of one that I face a lot, which I think advisors would also face, and that's, I'm not ready to move forward right now.
Yep. I was just going to say, I need some time to think about it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, when we've helped people recognize that where they are is not where they want to be, and it feels painful to stay there, you're going to hear a lot less objections. You're going to hear a lot fewer objections, because why would they object to stay where they are when you've helped them recognize that where they are is not an ideal spot for them anymore? And if there truly is, now here's the thing though, Kalli, not everybody's in a position to buy when we're having a conversation with them. There are now buyers, there's soon buyers, and there's later buyers.
Yeah.
And to me, when we try so hard to capture the now buyers, because only 2% of people at any given point are in a position to buy. So if we think about it, out of every 100 people that we're in a conversation with, only 2 of them would be in a position to say, okay, yes, I'm ready to move forward. A lot of touch points are required. Yeah. And so that's why I say like those micro conversations, that's where, because any sale that's made is really just a bunch of micro conversations leading up to that.
Right.
And in each conversation, one of the best things we can do is really stay curious and ask good questions to help that person arrive at the realization that where they are is no longer working for them and they are ready to do something about it. Where a lot of people go wrong is they try to get married on the first date.
Yes.
They go after those now buyers. They're trying some pressure tactics. They're trying some sale tactics to try. And again, if it's a sales call and that person is in the conversation to make a decision, then yeah, you are going to have to put a little pressure, ask, right? If you don't ask, you don't get. Right. But we also have to understand that if we're just trying to sell somebody and that's what they're feeling from us,
right,
it's going to be really hard to get them to make a decision because they don't feel like it's their decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you take the time to understand someone's problem, like actually act interested in them and allow them to share and allow them to talk, it's going to be a lot more likely they'll trust you with the solution that you have. But if you come in telling them you have their solution, they'll tell you that they don't have the problem. And you have no ground to stand on because you didn't take the time to really go in depth with their problem, with their challenges. And in no way am I saying you have to show up on a call and let the other person like Dear Diary cry their heart out and tell you everything under the sun. No, you are the leader on that call. You show up prepared because you've done the work before the work. You have designed questions that you know you can ask that will help pull out the really important context so that that person realizes that they are where they don't want to be. And so that you can then make recommendations. But you're not showing up just letting them say whatever they want to say. The person in control of the conversation is the person asking the questions. So we still have to show up as the leader on the call.
Right.
We have to be the one that shows up ready to, from the get-go, lead them, help them understand what to expect on the call, and then ask questions that guide them through being in a position to make a decision.
I love that because I love asking questions.
That it's the best. It's like when we can put ourselves in curiosity mindset, it's the energy of curiosity is how we want to show up for every conversation. And when you think you have the answer to give to somebody, because here's what happens too often, that whole getting married on the first date thing, we also turn ourselves into advice monsters. So what happens is we just start telling people like, oh, I can help with that, or I can do something about that, or I could do. But if we're just giving people advice, it feels like it's about us. It feels like we're telling them what to do, and nobody wants to be told what to do. But if you can make recommendations, hey, based on the fact that you said this, I would recommend that you look into doing something about it in the next few months. Or based on the fact that you said that this is your preference, I would look into something that has a little bit more alignment with that. When you're taking things that they said and you're aligning your recommendations with what they said, now it is about them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We have a question from Philip. He said, now buyers are 2%. What are the soon to buy and late buyers percentages?
98%. I don't know the exact percentage. I just know at any given point, one of the reasons that it's so, I mean, obviously it would be 98%, but I don't know how they're divided up.
Right.
But 98% of the people are later and now or soon and later buyers.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of, especially in this day and age, there's a lot more touch points that are needed.
Yes.
But if we're talking somebody being in a position at any given point ready to buy from you, it's about 2%. And they say that it's like 7 to 8 touch points that are needed before somebody
7 is what I've heard.
I think it's like way higher.
I think it's gone up
from before.
Yeah, it used to be 7, but it's definitely gone up just because there's so much more out there. We're always being bombarded with information.
It's a noisy world. World. And everything starts to sound the same. Everybody's automating things. And like, I think automation, I think all the tools are exactly that. They're tools and they're amazing.
Yes.
But where we want to cut through the noise, and the only way to cut through the noise is to actually be the only version of ourselves that nobody else can be, which is authentic and real and be in actual conversations with people. Don't just like the 17th email you write is not going to be the thing that finally makes the sale. It's the conversations that you're actually putting yourself in that are moving the needle more than anything else. And I'm not saying don't post things and don't email things. We want to make sure that we are marketing and doing our things that we need as the business owners to keep people to stay front of mind. Right. But it's the conversations that you're in that are going to cut through the noise every time.
Yeah. The relationships. That's why it's our tagline: relationships first, number second, because it's just like what you're talking about. Yeah, you could get, I don't know, 500 calls, but if you're not building that relationship, you're not going to get any sales. So it doesn't really matter that you had 500 calls.
That's it. A lot of people are just checking boxes. They're going through the motions. If you're not doing it with actual intentionality and you're not doing what we talked about earlier, people underestimate what we talked about earlier, Kalli, with like, you know, it's a mindset thing. Like, I'm excited to reach out to people today. I'm excited to connect with these people. Like, are you having intentionality with your conversations that you're putting yourself in?
Yeah.
And to me, there's such a missing piece in all of that because people just try to go through the motions. They just try to check boxes of like, well, I made my 200 calls this week.
Right.
Was there intentionality? Was there actual like conversations that you were having with people? Or is it just, well, I did my 200 calls? Because that to me is just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And you don't accomplish things when you just go through the motions.
Okay. I'm going to share your framework link here. Okay. So this QR code has Nicole's framework. And what I like about this discussion that we're having and ties into this is you've got kind of like questions to ask someone on the call. And what I love how this ties in with the marketing, like we're talking about building the relationships, is after you are getting on these calls and you start getting some of the same answers, that can direct the content that you're creating. Like, okay, now I know that 98% of the people who aren't ready to move forward right now usually have this question or this problem, and now I can create videos around that, or I can create I don't know, articles, something that helps them where they're at. So I love how the sales and the marketing, imagine, go together.
Go figure.
Go figure.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great for market research. It's great for just learning more. You know, there are only a handful of objections in the world. There are only a handful of reasons why somebody's not in a position to move forward. And we should not lose to an objection we knew that we were going to get. And so, yes, to your point, when you've got specific data or you see like in the 9 steps of this discovery call template that you've put up there, if you see the same thing kind of always happening at one of those steps, it's like, oh, okay, how can I shift how I show up to that part of the conversation? And, you know, all of this is not about playing checkers. It's about playing chess. It's about being so strategic and like really taking a step back, not just pre-briefing and preparing for a call, but debriefing. Okay, how did that call go? Where did it maybe go wrong? And I thought it was going to go in a different direction. And can I take a little bit of like time to reflect on that and see how I might do differently next time?
Okay, on these calls, should I view them as a failure if I get off the call, I feel like it went great, and then I get an email a week later and it's like, you know, I'm not ready to move forward. Like, how is that on me? Is it where the person's at? How do we move forward in that instance?
Really great question. So remember, the person in control of the conversation is the person asking the questions. A lot of people get lost in follow-up land because they didn't ask a really important question at the end of the call, which is, or direct that person towards the end, at the end of the call, to what happens next. So the really important question could be, when's the best time for us to follow up again? When would it be a good time? When, like, is 3 days enough for you to review what I'm going to send over? So basically, you want to take action at the end of any conversation and build in next steps. I don't think there's any failure that we can call any call, as long as we always have some different places we can direct people to. So if they're not in a position to buy, that would be one level of success. But another level of success could be, how do I stay in the game? If they're not one of the 2% of people, if they're in the 98% and they're a soon or a later, how do I still keep myself positioned so that I'm still in the conversation with them? And if we've let the end of the call go where they're like, okay, we'll send over the information and I'll get back to you in the next week or two, that's not in our control anymore. So what we want to do is say, hey, how much time would be enough for you to review what I'm going to send over? A week? Okay, great. So would it help if we looked at the following week to set up another time to check in?
Yeah.
So that no matter what, you have that touch point set up that you've both agreed on as a next step.
Do you recommend scheduling a second call while you're on the first call?
Yes, 100%. Don't get off that first call until you have the next point. And it might not, again, depending on what the call is, if it's somebody who's actively in a decision-making process, then yes, you want to set up another call as soon as possible. But if somebody's who's like, oh, this all looks really good, I've got this and this going on right now. Once I finish those, I'm going to be in a position to move forward with this. That might be a couple months from now. Great. Would it help if we set up a call for 4 months from now? And that way we can see where you're at that time. So you always want some kind of future touch points that you've both agreed on before you end that conversation.
I love that. Okay. So for closing the call, we're ending with, when should we follow up? What if you feel like the person's at the point where, okay, they need to make a decision. Like it's clear they're just not, I don't know, confident or something. How do you recommend, for lack of a better word, pushing them over?
I would find out from the very beginning if they're there to even make a decision. Hey, so by the end of this call, if we've discussed things that feel like the right fit for you, is there anything else that would need to happen for you to be in a position to decide what to do next? Or if by the end of this call, what we've discussed feels like the right fit, are you in a position to make a decision today about what you'd like to do next? Or we're here to discuss some different options that might work for you with what you're dealing with. If we go through what some of your challenges are and this feels like the right solution for you, is there anything else that would need to happen for you to move forward? So from the very beginning, or you could just say something as simple as, I'm curious, we're here to discuss some different things that are going on and make some recommendations. What will make our conversation a success for you?
Yeah.
And they might say,
that's the one I love.
Yeah, because it's like, and it depends on what kind of call you're getting on. If you're getting on a call, that person knows they're there to be so, like if it's a sales call and they're like, hey, I really think I want to work with you, then you can say, hey, we're here today to help you make a decision about what makes sense moving forward. And I'm going to make some recommendations with some of the things I think could be a good fit.
Right.
Is there anything else that would need to happen for you to be in a position to make a decision today? Because they know they're there to do that. Yeah. If it's more of an exploratory call and there's a chance that they might want to buy, then say, what will make this call a success for you? Or what will make our time together a success for you? And they might say, I want to know more about what you do so I can make sure that this is the right solution. Cool. Yeah. Conduct the call in that way. If they say, I'm just here to gather information because I'm not quite sure yet on when I'm going to want to move forward. Great. What information can I share with you right now that will get you closer to making it? So you can direct the call in a way that's going to serve what they're there to get out of it. And that does not mean that somebody by the end isn't going to be like, okay, I want this now. Just because they tell you I'm not ready to make a decision, I'm just here to gather information, does not mean they're not going to go, okay, this is something I don't want to go without. And if you haven't done it, like that's in the pre-frame of the call, and you know this, Kalli, because you've used my discovery call template that you just had up there. When you pre-frame it, that's when you would want to ask that. You would want to find out, like, what are you here for, right? We're here to discuss some things. I'd like to know what will make this discussion helpful or meaningful for you. And is there anything else that would need to happen for you to be in a position to move forward? And if you get to the end and they're still like, okay, this all looks great, I need some time to think about it. Great. I'm curious. What is it that you feel would be most helpful in as you're thinking about it, that will help you move forward in making a decision? So you still want to find out at the end, even if they're like, I want to think about it, what factor will you be using in making your decision, or what's most important to you in making this decision, so that you're still getting an understanding of, depending on how the conversation went, you could say, if you had to say right now, what are you leaning towards? Right. I'm curious. Is there anything, or what about this feels right now? Right. Get a little bit of feedback from them and see kind of where they're at.
Yeah. For those joining us, I'd love if you have specific questions, like if you've been running into something in your sales process that you're getting hung up on, and you have a question on that, please drop them in the chat. There is a little bit of a delay from when I say that and when I will actually get your comment. So until then, Nicole, can you tell me, like, share a story of somebody who used this new approach and what kind of results they saw?
Let's see. What would be a really good one? I think, so I had a client a couple of years ago that had a really great call with somebody. She was a weight loss coach. This woman wanted to lose weight. And my client comes to me and she's like, so I think she really wants to say yes. And we're going to follow up next week. And I was like, great. What makes you think she wants to say yes? And she was like, because she wants to lose weight. And I was like, okay, why does she want to lose weight? Well, because she wants to feel better. Why does she want to feel better? Well, because she wants to fit in her clothes. Why does she want to fit in her clothes? Like I kept asking all these questions and she hadn't gone deep, right? She
Yeah,
goes back to what
sure.
we were saying earlier, those surface level needs, and then
Yeah.
underneath the surface, what's the need behind the need?
Right.
And so she was like, well, what should I do on the follow-up call? I'm like, you need to get to that need behind the need. You need to understand what it is about losing weight and about feeling better that's really important to her.
Yeah.
So she shows up on the next call and she ended up taking it deeper and asking some additional questions like, what's important to you about losing the weight and feeling better? And the woman started crying and talking about her grandkids and how she was so afraid that their memories of her would be of her sitting in a chair in the backyard watching them play because she just didn't have it in her and didn't have the energy to go play with them.
Yeah.
And so she broke down on the call and started crying, and she paid my client in full. And she was like, here you go. I want to work with you.
Yeah.
And I don't say that because it's about making somebody cry, but it's about helping somebody else. I mean, here's the thing. If we don't ask somebody, we're letting them stay where they are. If we really care about people, we will help them get to a better place than they were when we found them. And sometimes they don't realize for themselves that where they are is not where they want to be. And if we don't connect them to that, because people will always buy with emotion. That's why it's important that we get them to an emotional state, right? People always buy with emotion. They justify with reason and logic, but it's true. So we have to help them feel something. We have to help them feel the connection to what would her life be like if she really didn't do anything about it and lose the weight. And she never got that energy she was looking for. And her grandkids did remember her only as that person, that grandma that sat in the chair, right? She would be really upset if somebody didn't kind of push her a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, the other way that I like to tell it, this is a little bit of a silly analogy, but it always works. This actually happened with a real client. She was feeling salesy. She was feeling pushy. She had just gone the weekend before skydiving, and she had gone because her boyfriend bought her, it was her birthday. Her boyfriend bought her a pass to go skydiving because she'd always wanted to. So she gets the birthday gift. They go to the skydiving place. They sign the waiver. They suit up. They go through the, whatever the instruction is that you have to learn how to do your parachute and open and everything else. And then they get on the plane and they take off on the plane. Now I'm covering all these little details because I want you to see it in the same way a sales call would be. These are all micro commitments, right? She gets the birthday gift. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm excited. She says yes to that. She drives to the skydiving place. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. She says yes to that. She signs the waiver. She suits up. So far, it's yes, right? She gets on the plane. She's with her tandem instructor because she's going to do the dive tandem, right? They get to the very top. And so I asked her because she was like, I'm feeling salesy. I'm feeling pushy. I'm like, I have a question for you. What if when you skydived this past weekend, how did you feel when they opened the door? She was like, I wasn't sure I was going to do it. And I'm like, right, you weren't sure. But everything leading up to that was like, yes, I'm a little scared, but yes. Yes. And when they opened the door, it was like, oh God, oh God, oh God. What if the instructor that you were diving with had not said anything and just let you sit there and close the door and landed the plane? She's like, well, I guess I would have jumped. And I'm like, and how would you have felt if you'd gotten to the bottom? And she's like, well,
oh no, we lost her. Either we lost her or I don't think it's me. But I think we had an idea of where Nicole was going with that story. That she would have regretted it if she hadn't jumped out. And in order to jump out, she needed a little bit of a push. So yes, make sure if you haven't already, scan Nicole's discovery call framework. It's something that I've used in my calls, and I've had a great reaction, especially to that one question that I mentioned. What would make this call a success for you? And then make sure to use is your marketing hitting all the right places? If you scan this QR code, it's going to take you to a short quiz. It's going to ask you some questions, and it doesn't mean that you're going to get a bad score. You might get a good score. It's just going to give you a baseline. It's very basic questions. It's only going to take about 2 minutes. So go ahead and scan that if you're interested. And then join us in 2 weeks. We will be talking about AI and how it's transforming marketing. and how, let me see, the landscape of marketing will be completely different within 18 months is basically the title or the description of in 2 weeks, A.U.M. Because next week I will be at Snappy Kraken's Jolt conference. If you're going to be there, please reach out because I would love to meet up and meet you in real life. Okay, I do see we had nope, no questions. Okay. So thank you again for joining us, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Unless you're at Jolt, then I will see you in 1 week.